Welcome to the VBAC Homebirth Stories podcast, where we celebrate and share powerful VBAC homebirth stories to inspire and support mamas just like you. I'm your host, Ashley Winning, a VBAC homebirth advocate and mama of 3, and I believe every woman deserves to birth with confidence and trust in her body. In each episode, you'll hear real-life stories, expert insight, and encouragement to help you feel informed and empowered on your VBAC homebirth journey. Let's dive in. Before we get started on this episode, I heard from Emilie after, and she had been thinking about her episode, and this quite often happens. And as somebody who gets interviewed on podcasts every now and then myself, I know that sometimes there's certain things that are left out that I really wanted to stress emphasis on. So I said to Emilie I would read out what she wanted to share because she felt it was really important to share. So she said, I wonder if I focus too much on the details of what happened rather than highlighting the real game changers for me. I don't think this comes across clearly enough, so I wanted to share it with you in case it's useful for adding context when sharing the episode. One of the most pivotal moments in my journey was learning that women in comas can give birth unassisted, their bodies and babies working together instinctively. This was a profound realization for me. It showed me that when we don't interfere or try to control the process, our bodies and babies know what to do. We just have to trust them. With that in mind, my biggest preparation for this birth was mental. I had to learn how to truly surrender and get out of my own way, which I managed to do. Listening to birth stories through podcasts reaffirmed my confidence in trusting the process, no matter how it unfolded. That's why I didn't panic when a hospital transfer was mentioned. When we discovered my baby was breech, or when she took a few extra seconds to breathe, I trusted that all would be well. I don't know if this is helpful from your perspective, but I thought I'd share. If I only had 2 minutes to tell a woman how to prepare for birth, I'd say this: learn how to breathe for birth and how to get out of your own way. Amazing words, such great insights. Now we'll get started with the podcast and keep that in mind. Hello and welcome back to another podcast episode. I'm your host, Ashley, and today we've got Emilie with us, who's going to be sharing a wonderful birth story with us, and I'm excited to hear this story. Welcome, Emilie.
Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning. Please let us know a little bit about yourself, whatever you'd like to share.
Okay, so I'm based in Southeast Queensland. I live on a small island. I'm a mother of 2 beautiful daughters. One is 6 and the second one is just over 1 year old now. I run a company in recruitment. We do international executive search. I've been doing that. I've been in recruitment all of my professional life. And I also offer prenatal and postnatal yoga classes to women here on the island.
What island do you live on?
On Bribie Island, just an
Bribie
hour
Island.
north of Brisbane.
Yeah, so you've got a bridge over to you as well, haven't you, over there? Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Beautiful. I'm just in the middle of Brisbane and the Gold Coast, so not too far.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Awesome. So let's start with the birth of your first daughter. Well, the pregnancy and conception of your first daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my first daughter arrived. The pregnancy went well, very well. There was no complication. My partner and I did the hypnobirthing course. At the time, I continued my yoga studies to become a prenatal yoga instructor. I read a number of books. Before I became pregnant myself with my first, I didn't know much about birth and pregnancy apart from what we received from our family and the society in general. It wasn't a topic of interest for me in particular, and mothering or parenting in general was not high on the priority list. It wasn't part of my interest. And as I started this journey, I'd say it's a journey because a whole world opened up to me, and I knew I didn't want to have a pregnancy with heavily medicated, or I'm not someone who complicate things. So I knew straight away there was another way of doing things than what we are being told. And so I started to research and educate myself. At the time, I didn't have a community of like-minded mothers around me yet. So it's not like I knew how people were traveling as a mother. It was very new to me. We didn't have parents, friends, friends who were parents, So we both relied heavily on the education that we gave ourselves during that time. So even though I knew from my first one that I was hoping to have a home birth, I have to admit that I did lack in confidence. I didn't know of podcasts back then. Well, I'm pretty sure they were around. I just didn't know them. And so I started researching private midwives for a home birth. And at the same time, I just did the initial GP checks, who gave me a referral for the local hospital. And we got accepted into the local midwifery group. And when we first went to an appointment, I remember telling my partner, look, it's probably going to be very different to, what we learn in hypnobirthing. Their views and practices will be different. So let's go to this appointment just to see, but I suspect we won't be continuing with them. And we were surprised to find a team of 2 midwives who were very much aligned in the way we were seeing things. One did hypnobirth herself, water birth as well. And the other one straight away reassured us that she was accredited, trained to deliver babies in water. So it was not only the labor that could take place in the pool, but also the birth. So straight away we're like, wow, how lucky, this is wonderful. We speak the same language, let's continue with them. So we did. I went to all the regular appointments because there was no complications. And at the time I was still under 35, there wasn't that many appointments. So everything was fine. And then when I passed the due date, this is when things started to change. So there was regular appointments to check that, me and Bob were still okay. And then more screening was offered. So at the time, I was like, yep, no worries, let's do the right thing and do all of those. And I remember as we were about to be 42 weeks, so just 1 or 2 days short of being 42 weeks, there was a lot of pressure. That morning was Australia Day, and the midwife said, we now have to do daily CTG scans. You have to come here. Because I wasn't agreeing on an induction, they started offering inductions from week 34 or 35, something like this. And I knew about the cascade of interventions, so I always declined.
At 35 weeks pregnant, your midwives, who were holistically minded, or showing that they were offering you inductions at 35 weeks.
Yep.
For no reason? There was no complications or anything?
No reason at all. It was just part of their routine. They do offer it to every woman, and if someone want to do it. And I was just trusting this baby would come when the baby is ready. So I declined. And I also knew that I knew about the cascade of intervention. So I just wanted to give my body and my baby the best chances to get started when they were both ready.
Yeah.
So then, so we are Australia Day morning, almost 42 weeks. They're telling me it's now becoming more complicated to continue things like we have before. And so the midwife at that point brings in a doctor in the room. I've never seen a doctor throughout the pregnancy, and the midwife doesn't talk. The doctor is now talking to me. And tells me, look, we're getting into a critical window, 42 weeks. There are increased risks. I have to come for daily CTG that Saturday. And she said, by Monday, if you haven't birthed, we really need to book an induction. And I explained, I appreciate your concern here, but I really don't. I don't want to. Anyway, so there's a lot of fear. The language has changed. Obviously, the person talking to me has changed. And now I'm being told that morning, you can't birth in the pool anymore because you've passed your due date, you're close to 42 weeks. And surely they must have told me at some point this, but I forgot. So huge deception for me. I'm like, all right, so no water birth. They're really putting pressure on me for inductions and I don't want to do it. And I said, I agree on the stretch and sweep that morning. I said, it's probably the worst. I mean, it's probably, you know what I mean? It's not the worst thing to do. So, okay, I'll do this and maybe we'll get things started. So that morning we do this, mild cramping, but nothing happening. And that evening around 8:20 it was, or 8:30, I don't know, my water released at home. So I inform my midwife and I stay home that evening. We decide to go to the hospital that night, maybe around 11 midnight, something like that. We drop my dog off at my parents' place, head to the local hospital. And obviously, when you get out of your zone to either transfer or do something, the body kind of stops for a while. So contractions were not as regular or strong as what they were at home. It almost felt like nothing happened. They asked when the midwives arrived, she asked if I'd like her to check me. She does. She's like, yeah, okay, you're opening up nicely. It was maybe 5 or 6 at the time. No worries, I'll let you be. We had everything, the music, the oils, dark in the room. And she left. She would always leave the room and come every now and then just to check on us, but she was very hands-off. So far, so good. I'm laboring in the shower because I'm not allowed to go in the pool, unfortunately. In the bath, it's a bath over there. And they tell me, because it's quite advanced now, I have to wear the belt all the time around me. So I leave it on. But you hear the beeping all the time. It's a bit annoying. And I mean, it doesn't help to get in the zone, but it is what it is at the time. I don't really question things that much, so I do it. And long story short, labor stalls, things don't progress, I'm getting tired. She checks me maybe, 2-3 times throughout the night. I see the sun rises, nothing's happening. And then at some point, she's even telling me, look, your body is closing up. You were way more open last night when you go here. Now you're closing up. The heartbeats of your baby are going low during contraction, which is normal, but they're staying low for a very long time, and that's a concern. And I remember feeling, having an ill feeling a bit after the sunrise, and I was feeling something is not right. This baby is stuck. For some reason, it's not going to progress. Something is not working out here. And when the midwife then checked me, that's when she said, your body is closing up. And at the time I was exhausted. And when the doctor starts in the morning again, around 7 or 8, she checks on me and says, look, from the graph here, things are not good for your baby. She's getting really tired. You are still okay. Your baby is not. What are your thoughts about this? And I said, I feel, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like there's something odd in here. Something is not happening quite right. And I feel like she is not going to come out by herself. And I knew, and when I prepared for the birth, I was so against cesareans that every chapter, everything about it, I would just skip it. This was not for me. It was not part of my story. And I had no education whatsoever on the topic because I completely blocked it out. I did tell my partner when going to the hospital, do bring shoes. We never know, we have to stay open, bring some shoes. But I never thought it was something that would happen to me. And that morning I said, when the doctor said, I know what your birth choices are. I've read them again. We've discussed them again with your midwives, but something is not going quite right. And I strongly believe it would be better that we help you taking this baby out. And I offer to you, right now, we should really move to theater. And I knew, my whole being knew, we have to do it. And when I looked at my partner, and he said, it's not like it's your call, but he said, I'll respect your choice if that's what you want. I said, I think we have to. We really have to. And so we did. We signed the paperwork quickly, transferred, and the surgery was all right, as in they were extremely respectful. They explained to me everything that was happening. There was no chatting about their personal lives or anything. They were with me, present with me. And they tried to respect all of our choices as much as possible, as in delayed cord clamping, straight onto the skin to skin, attached to the breast and all of that. And so the surgery was fine. She was covered of meconium, but luckily the head was down, engaged enough for her to have nothing on the head. So the body had meconium, but not her head. And she was, I can't remember what it was, but the APGAR score was quite bad. So yes, she was highly distressed. And from the moment she was out, I remember thinking, when we are in surgery, these things happen, it's life. If she doesn't make it, what can I do? It's life, I have to accept it's part of life. My partner's here, I'm here, we're healthy. Maybe that's all there is, So you're coming to terms with what might happen. And from the moment she comes out, she screams, it's fantastic. I knew straight away, this is my girl, thank God that she's here. And then it was fine. She attached to the breast quickly. She was she was fine. So I stayed in hospital a couple of nights, I think. They wanted to keep me longer, but luckily she put on weight straight away. Everything was fine for her and me, so they allowed us to go home. And then the recovery postpartum had no complications. My beginning on the motherhood journey was fine, except that I had to work on the trauma of the birth and coming to terms with what happened, which was far from the calm, natural birth we prepared for. But as we all know, this is also part of birth.
Yes.
Sorry for being such a long story on the on the first one.
That's not long at all. No way at all.
Okay.
It was an interesting story as well. So how did you feel in that postpartum? What sort of emotions were you working through?
Initially, I remember the guilt of failure. I failed, I failed this birth, failed my baby. It was a very strong feeling of failure, and and the and facing people who don't understand that. They don't feel it, they don't see it, or they don't hear it. So you always hear the things, oh, your baby is healthy. That's the most important thing. Lucky the hospital was there. Lucky the medical professional saved you. All this language that you hear all the time. And at the time, you're still there with your feeling of it's inachieved. There's something I should have done differently. There's something I could have done I didn't do. And so when the midwife first came home to debrief, she really was a good listener. I have to admit, she really did give her whole attention and said there was nothing. She said, you guys did everything you could have perfectly. You worked in pair perfectly. There's nothing I could have suggested to do differently. And if there was, I would have, because I did come in to check on you regularly, and the breathing was there. We were using homeopathy and movement and lots of different, everything you can think of. And she said, I think you knew what the right call was at the right time, and you listened to your intuition, and good on you, because I know this was nothing that you wanted to do initially, but you just knew your baby needed that, and you went with it. And please be be kind to yourself, because there was nothing else you could have done. Nothing that I know, that I can see. There's nothing else you could have done. So to this day, we don't know why things progress that way. From a medical point of view, we don't know why. We cannot explain. But definitely when baby was born, that following morning, she was highly distressed. And she was very small as well. So maybe she didn't have the physical energy, the resources to go through a lengthy birth process. We don't know. This is on the technical medical side of things. Personally, I have a long history of surgeries growing up. I carry a lot of trauma around hospital. And I always knew inside me that birthing in hospital was not a place where I felt safe. However, I thought I should do the right thing for my baby. If I can't face a hospital at birth, how am I going to bring her to the hospital when she needs later on? So I should get on, and work on my fears and do it for her. But even though I worked on my fears, I certainly didn't work on all of the layers. And things happen for a reason. And I'm grateful I had this first experience, because it also helped me make different choices and have stronger opinions about my choices in my second birth. And I have a better understanding and a lot of empathy for whatever journey mothers go through, because we can plan, we can prepare for as many things as we want, but there's always a part of birth that is completely unpredictable. And it's part of the journey as well, to come to terms with things that happen or don't happen. And it's all part of it. So if I had a smooth ride both times, I probably wouldn't understand on deeper levels what women go through. So I'm grateful it happened.
And that helps you with your work, doesn't it? You're working with pregnant women through yoga and the work that you do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel the same. It's my positive spin of, well, I've had this and I've had that and I've experienced that. And while that was challenging, it really does give you an insight into how it feels and the heaviness of those experiences that people feel when they're going through them.
Any life complication I go through help me to relate to people on another level, and it's a blessing afterwards. Surely it's tough when you go through it, but there's always a reason why it has been put on your path, and usually relating to others is then it happens on another level, because you can understand the struggle and the pain.
I believe this as well. I truly believe it. So then you had a bit of a break between your little ones.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't in a hurry to have another birth.
Yeah.
The midwives told me straight away, Emilie, it doesn't mean anything. I was grateful they did say that. They did organize monthly catch-ups with their moms and babs, and at the first one I went, my midwives and the ones who were there on the day of the birth said, it's not because you've had a cesarean once that you will always have cesareans. It doesn't matter. You can have a vaginal birth later on. But ideally, please give your body the time to heal properly. But you'll be fine. Your body went into labor naturally, sort of thing. So you'll be fine. Trust the process. If you want to have vaginal birth later, you can. And I was like, thank you for telling me, but I'm definitely not planning anything soon. It's just too soon for me. But when she was 3 years old, that's when we said, yep, okay, we're ready to consider having a second one. And from that moment, we were not trying hard, but we were open to receiving another baby in our family. And it didn't happen. I think we took the decision around Christmas time, and I thought, well, in the next couple of cycles, surely I will fall pregnant, because the first time around it happened so easily. I just assumed, well, my body knows what it's doing and it will happen automatically. It didn't. And after 4 or 5 months, or 6 months even, I started to think, okay, so maybe I need to do a bit more here. Let's get my body in top shape, seeing naturopaths and everybody to be in top condition to welcome another baby. Both my partner and I do everything we can to be emotionally, physically ready to welcome this baby. And in August, I remember we went on holidays thinking, well, when you go on holidays, you're overseas, you don't think about work and the responsibilities of life. This is surely a good time to fall pregnant. And again, huge deception when my next cycle came, and I'm starting to think there's something wrong with me. What's wrong with me? You question everything you've been seeing. You've been doing blood tests and taking supplements and eating clean, all these things, meditating daily. You do all the right things, but nothing's happening. And then I'm thinking, wow, there's definitely something going on. So and it's on and off. We because I'm watching ovulation time, and I say, okay, this month it's a good time, blah blah blah, and then we stop looking at ovulation and everything, and I forget about the cycles because it's too much. So the deception, when it happens, after a while, it really takes a toll on you. And we've had the discussion several times where we were like, let's stop everything we're doing. It's just too much. And the family is probably the three of us with our dog, and that's it. And we're happy. So maybe we're trying to have too much, and often we need to catch ourselves saying, hey, what am I doing here? I'm already so happy. Why do I need more? So we stopped, we gave up hope. And then the next cycle in September, I got pregnant. And so that was fantastic. And I knew I would go for a home birth. And I wanted to find a midwife that would support a VBAC. So I reached out to a couple of ladies in my area. And I connected with one that I knew through friends that had birth with her. She was very positive, hands-off. She had a great success rate with VBACs. And when we met, I then knew, yep, she's the woman I want to work with. She's the one. And so we just had this initial discussion, and then we went back to New Caledonia. This is where we are originally from. We visited the family, and it was the 3 months mark. So we had not told anyone at the time, and we waited to be there in person to announce to our parents and friends that we were expecting another child. And that following week, I lost this baby just on the 3 month mark. And that's just when I remember I told the midwife that I wasn't going to do all the regular scans and everything. And the only test unless there was a reason, a concern, then I would. But if there was no concern, then I wouldn't. But I wanted to do a nip test just because I was a bit older and I wanted to find the gender. So it was for me it wasn't too invasive to do just a blood test, and we could check on a number of things and have the peace of mind. So we did that.
Do you mind sharing what age you were at this point?
39, yeah.
Did the midwife have any issues with your age or anything like that?
No, because she looked at me from a global perspective, and she knew I was eating healthy, I was managing my emotions, I was healthy physically, I was seeing a naturopath regularly, I had blood tests done, so we knew I didn't have deficiencies. I have a gene mutation, MTHFR, so I know I need to have my body detox and assimilate vitamins differently than most people. So there's a number of things that we were already doing in life to preventive measures to stay healthy. So she knew, even though I was 39 at the time, I was probably healthier than some of the 25-year-old mothers out there, so because I was eating organic and moving my body and all these things that you do to stay healthy. So she had no concerns with me not doing routine checks.
Yeah.
And even with our appointments, I told her initially, because I'm quite upfront and I wanted to find someone who knew what they were getting themselves into. I didn't want to pretend to do things a certain way and then show up differently. So I told her I will probably not do all of them. I don't think we need all of this, but we'll do enough appointments to have a real relationship between the two of us. And she was like, look, I'm totally fine with it, Emilie, and I will document everything I have to for Afra, and it is fine. I respect your choices. We don't vaccinate either. And she was fine with this. She never questioned my choices. She said, at certain times, I will give you the offering because it's a protocol I have to follow. I know you will tell me no, thank you, but I will, if you don't mind, I will have to offer this to you. And I said, this is fine. I understand. It's your professional career. I totally understand. And as long as you respect my choices, we are good to go. So we had this agreement from day one.
Yeah.
And it was fine. And there was no concern throughout the pregnancy to do any scans or additional blood tests. I didn't do the glucose test either. And she was happy with that because I didn't have it in the first pregnancy and I didn't have any signs showing that my body was functioning differently during this pregnancy. So every time she checked on me, the measurements or heartbeats and blood pressure for me, everything was fine. So she was happy.
Yeah. So that baby,
I lose that baby on the same day. I write to her to tell her this is happening. I'm starting to bleed. I have a really bad feeling about this. It's been almost a day and there's cramping. I'm gonna go and be checked out at the local hospital. And it's also when she messages me and says, I've got your results back from your nip test, baby's fine, and it's a boy. On the same day, all of this happened. Crazy. Anyway, so at the hospital, they tells me, yeah, no heartbeats, Emilie. I'm very sorry. We should take you into surgery. And luckily, I knew there's different options. And I said, I don't want to do a surgery. But at the same time, I'm here only for, a couple of weeks. So I can't let my body process this on its own time. I would rather take a pill so I know within the next 24, 48 hours window it's finished because I'm not at home, unfortunately. It's very delicate. So the doctors were fine, but I was surprised how they didn't offer this. I had, if I didn't know, they wouldn't have offered the pill. It was surgery or nothing else. So luckily I go home, did that. It was so intense, painful, horrible. My partner and my daughter were with me throughout those long hours. And we explained to my daughter what was happening. So even though it was a very difficult, painful, physically, emotionally experience, it really brought us together closer. It really brought us closer. This miscarriage, and it really made us appreciate even more what we had, as in us. And that was it. From this, I was like, I don't want any other child. I'm happy as we are. And look, it took so long and I've lost this baby, so we're not meant to have another baby. It's fine. So we go back to Australia. It's December. And we are on a road trip in northern New South Wales in March, and my period's running late. And I'm thinking, hang on, I don't have my periods. I'm going to the bathroom every 2 minutes. Am I pregnant? Can this be possible? Sure enough, I was pregnant. So I rang back my midwife straight away and I said, this is happening. I don't want to put much pressure on you or me at this stage. Let's just see if I pass the 3 months mark. We'll see what happens. And this baby stayed. This is our second daughter. It was different. So initially, this little boy that I lost, I did the usual first steps that you do. You go to the GP, you get your confirmation of pregnancy, they check on you, all of that. And I was questioning, why am I doing this? Do I actually need this? What did this doctor bring to us? Nothing apart concerns, because I didn't want to do a glucose test or something, and we had to agree to alternatives. And we were already having these discussions, and I was thinking, why do I need some external validation for something happening? Obviously, I know I'm pregnant. I know I'm healthy. I don't need to do these tests. And why do I still engage in the medical system if at the end of the day, that's not what I want? So it was interesting to watch this happening. So with my second daughter, I told my midwife, I won't be, she said, you just need your referral. Go at least to get a referral for me. And that's it. And I said, yep, okay, I'll do that. And that was it. That was the last time I actually saw a GP. I haven't seen a GP since. And then we started on the second pregnancy. And I'm 40. No. I turned 40 last year, so I'm still 39 for this one. So with this one, I already have the midwife. She confirms she's available for around the due date, and everything is fine. We passed the 3-month mark. We tell our families this baby is growing happily. Since the first I continued my yoga studies, I became also postnatal yoga instructor, restorative yoga instructor, continued this sort of studies. I didn't feel the need to do another hypnobirthing course or anything. I didn't read additional books. I really didn't feel the need to prepare technically for this birth, but I knew I had a lot of work to do in my inner world. That's where I knew the focus would be this time around. I trusted my body would know what to do, and that's not where I needed to spend time and energy. So I first had to work on my first birth to really deep dive into it, peel all the layers of the onion basically, and see what was left that I wasn't aware of, because things play out at some point. They will show up again, and I didn't want that to happen. And I knew there was definitely something around the link I have with hospital that I've had from maybe even past life. So I even worked on past life regressions. I did some hypnotherapy sessions as well to work on that, and to really release any energetical link with it. Because if we had to transfer at some point, I had to be in a condition where I was still able to make the right choices, and it was not made out of fear or I was detached from my past experience, basically. So I worked on that. I worked on really allowing and trusting. So allowing things to unfold the way they will, no expectations whatsoever. First time I had a cesarean, so I thought, well, never know, surgery can happen again. I have to be okay no matter what happens. But I have to be in a position where I allow things to happen. I trust deeply, so deeply that I will not question things, and I will know when we need to take a different course of action. But the trusting and the inner knowing is something I need to work on. It's my relationship with myself and my baby, and there's no one externally that can help me on this. And I remember having a discussion with a doula twice, 2 hours each time, because I was considering engaging a doula. And this person was going around in circle, asking me the same questions over and over. And again, I watched myself like I did the time before with the doctor. Why am I doing this? Why do I need some external reassurance or help when I know the work can only be done by me, for me, inside of me? So I decided not to engage her. And I just wanted to work with my midwife to have someone at home helping us, who could help us if anything was needed. But I knew from my friend's experiences with her and from the relationship I've built with her that she would be extremely hands-off. And she told me what were the rare scenarios where she would recommend a transfer. So we went through each case before, and we debunked everything, and we were ready for the day.
So you had a chat with your midwife about the reasons why and what would happen in that circumstance. So you prepared yourself mentally for if that were to happen, you understood the steps that would happen.
Exactly. Yeah. She said, look, there are only few occasions I would recommend a transfer. And she is someone who truly, truly trusts and respects physiological birth. She really does. She's always been a home birth midwife. She's active in the Queensland Home Birth Association. And she really is a strong advocate for women to birth in their own terms.
We're not going to say her name on the podcast. I'll ask you after, but I do feel like I know who it is. Yeah, I'll be interested to know afterwards.
Yeah,
I do feel like I know who it is. I'm really interested for the audience as well to understand your process for working on your inner self, because I feel like, especially for a lot of my mini Ashleys out there who want to control things, working on external validation, one of the things that can be very hard is to go inward and connect with yourself. Could you share a little bit about that process?
Yeah. So meditation is the first thing. For me, being a yoga instructor, it's a practice I've had in my life for a number of years. Obviously, being a mother, it's hard to sit still in peace in a place and meditate 2 hours a day. You have to be practical about things, but connecting with your inner self happens daily. It happens when you prepare food, when you're present with your partner, with your child. It's through the breath, it's through the presence, it's noticing your thoughts, it's journaling, sitting with yourself, though even though it becomes more challenging when you have children. During this pregnancy, my partner and I, meditating daily, every evening, for sure. Rarely it didn't happen, but we would at least have an hour daily. And this, the consistency of this allows space and time for thoughts, for fears, for feelings, for all these things to show up, to show themselves. And when you're able to see them for what they are, they serve a purpose. They're here for a lesson. So if you don't allow the space for them to be shown to you, they will not be shown, and they will continue to play in your life and scenarios. This is why things keep happening in a certain way, because we haven't done the work on those thought pattern or whatever it might be, past trauma that we carry still physically in our bodies or anything. So meditation is definitely the biggest tool I've ever used, and I will continue to use and recommend. And there's nothing like, you don't have to be advanced or anything. Sitting with yourself, watching your breath, that's it. Or walking and paying attention to your steps. Sitting in nature, watching nature could be it. But sitting with yourself is the thing. We live in a society where we have to achieve and do things constantly. We are on the go. We need to perform. It's all about doing, but we forget about the being. And being with ourselves is, it doesn't happen by accident. You have to make the choice, and you have to be consistent with it. So it's something I did for me because I had to.
Mama, imagine this. You're in the sacred space of your own home, surrounded by love, trust, and deep confidence in your body. There's no fear, no pressure, just you, fully in your power, bringing your baby into the world on your terms. But right now, maybe you're questioning, is this really possible for me? That's exactly why I created the Homebirth Village, a deeply supportive program designed to help you move past fear, prepare with confidence, and step into birth feeling fully ready. Doors close soon, and I don't want you to miss this. Join us before the 22nd of March and receive an exclusive private one-on-one birth plan session with me, so you feel completely supported. DM me home on Instagram at Ashley L. Winning to claim your spot. Your empowered birth starts here, now, today.
So I made the choice and the commitment to work on my limiting beliefs, on my traumas and fears, thought patterns and everything. So meditation is one. Breathing is another important tool. Breathing exercise to manage our emotions daily, but also as a pain management during birth process. So any mother needs to be learning about breathing techniques. And that's key. I mean, when we are born, the first thing we do is breathe. We take it for granted, but it's the most powerful tool we have as humans. And breathing is key. There are so many different breathing exercises out there, and people can trial and do whatever works for them. I have my own routine with this, but regular breathing exercise was another one. And hypnotherapy was another important practice for me, where we work consciously on specific topic, and you can access your internal resources. And when you leave aside your ego and your thinking and you access your inner knowing, it's amazing what resources we have when we can access them. But when we have a mind that never stops, which is normal as human, we have over 50,000 thoughts a day. But if we don't take the time to step aside from those thoughts, then we can't access those amazing resources we have internally. So luckily, my partner, he's trained in hypnotherapy, and we did sessions regularly, and
beautiful.
we still do when we need.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a lot of things that I recommend as well, which I found so helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining how you work through and got in touch with yourself.
This is for in touch with myself, but there's something extremely important that helped me during this pregnancy. It helped me so much. The podcasts. This is why I'm here today. Hearing from mothers, hearing so many different stories, different countries, these people from different backgrounds who had different experiences, first, second, third birth, it didn't matter. But hearing those real stories, not the stories that we are being told by Hollywood or by medical professionals or by anyone out there, people who have lived birth for real. And when you hear those stories, you hear a common thread and you realize the power that women carry in their body and the power that the inner knowing has. And when you truly surrender and you respect the process of birth, of physiological birth as it is, and when you understand the technicalities of it, you truly have reverence for it, because nature has made things in such a way that once you know that birth is not a medicalized event, we might need medical interventions at time, like everything in life. And we are lucky for us to live in a country where we can access it. This is great. But treating every birth, every pregnancy as a pathology, I think it's wrong. It's where our society went wrong, because it's not a pathology. It's just a natural event. And it can be a very powerful, transformative experience. And unfortunately, many women nowadays are robbed from it.
Yes.
And this is why I want women to know. This is why I want to share the story, because I've heard it from other mothers. And I want people to know it's true. It is like that. If you allow it to be, it will be that simple and that beautiful. But we don't know that. We are not being taught this at school or anywhere. I come from a lineage of women who have had traumatic birth experiences. So that's all I knew.
Yeah.
So I had to unlearn these things to learn other things. And luckily, I was able to have a very healing second birth, which was transformative and very empowering. So I know from my experience as well now that it is true. And I want other women and other teenage girls to know. They need to know.
I want them to know too, as a mother of 3 girls, like yourself with you too. I think that even if I had boys, though, I think it's so important for people to know. And I think when I was listening to you speak, half of my experience and my trauma and my hardship through the process and working through the experiences was that the power was taken away from me, and that I intuitively knew that this was wrong. Like, I knew, and I hear that from women. They know something was wrong, something that happened to them was wrong, but because they couldn't put it into words and they couldn't speak in medical lingo or whatever it was, you can't communicate on the same level as people who are not working by intuition, or they're working from procedures and policies and things like that. And I feel so much more powerful, although it's hard sometimes to stand in your power and say no to people or say yes.
Yes, it's hard.
And it takes time, but it's hard, but it becomes easier. And then it's no longer hard because it's a muscle that you're kind of building, or, without the people-pleasing stuff coming up telling you you're bad for saying no, or wanting to birth. I mean, it's interesting, but it is such a good point that you brought up about women standing in their power. And I love when I hear stories from women like yourself who they intuitively know, and you took the responsibility and you told them, no, I don't want to be induced. No, and I don't know what your thoughts were, but it was unapologetic with the way you told the story. It wasn't, I was worried about hurting their feelings. It was, I knew what I wanted and I told them, and that was it. The end.
That first birth, that moment, that day we were with the doctor in the room and the midwife, she left my side. She wasn't on my side anymore. She didn't say a word in the room. And at that moment, I was being reminded big time that she wasn't working for me. She was working for the hospital.
Yeah.
So as much as she wanted to do something for me, she probably couldn't have, because we were already in 42-week window, blah, blah, blah. And I understand she's part of a system. She has to play by this rule. And I did engage in that system. And so that was it.
Yeah.
And I had to see things for what they were. And from that moment, that was it. I lost the trust I had with this person. From that moment, I felt alone with my partner to birth this baby. I didn't want to rely on her because she didn't stood up against this doctor when I felt like she should have. So that's just, that's also why the second time around, preparing for the second birth, I knew I could find the best midwife out there in the hospital setting. She will have her hand tied. And there will be limits to what she can really do for me, because she works within the system. That is what it is. And if you decide to engage in this, it's not right or wrong. It is what it is. So you play by those rules. And I knew I wanted something different, hence the reason why I was planning a home birth.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. And so, yes, and I kept looking after myself. I was seeing a chiro regularly. I was taking prenatal supplements, eating well, organic, seeing my naturopath, all these things, educating myself. And it's not, when we talk about educating ourselves, I'm not talking only about listening to other women's stories, but there are doctors out there, doctors who are real advocates for this. I'm talking about Dr. Sarah Barkley. I'm such a big fan of hers. Is it Dr. Drew, the American guy who came and trained people? Stu, about breech birth. All these doctors, they do their best to change, to bring changes in the medical society, but it takes time. But luckily, we have these people out there who are also doing their best to change things.
Yeah,
for all of us.
They are. And I saw a photo of him with Russell Brand last night. He's at, I don't know, understand the politics over in America, but I think he's been invited into JF Kennedy's, I don't know what goes on, but something. So all I'm hoping for is that he can make some change from inside for home birth and women birthing, because I know he's very passionate about that. And fingers crossed that he can make some traction for us.
Yeah. Well, he travels around the world training medical professionals to learn how to deliver breech babies. It's a
Yes.
lost art, I always say, because if you go through the regular medical courses for a midwife, you don't learn that anymore. It's something you have to do later in your career if you want to continue your professional development. And so that's the reason we then understand why hospitals cannot support breech deliveries. They just don't have the resources. People don't know how to do it. So unless this changes, unless people do learn how to deliver safely a breech birth, then if you don't learn, you can't guess. So hospitals won't be able to offer this to women. So it needs to change too.
100%. Yeah. It does. It's a lost skill, and it's a very vital and important skill, especially for home birth midwives. But anyone in the system, women should be given the choice, and staff should be trained to support women in that choice if the woman wants that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I knew my midwives were trained, but I didn't think I would need those skills.
Yeah.
My baby was so flipped at the right time, engaged nicely. The last appointments, so maybe 5 days before the birth, I saw the chiro. 4 days before, I saw the midwife, and both were very happy with her positioning. She was so low. I felt like she would fall out of me every single step. It was weird. And maybe 2 days before the birth, the shape of my belly changed, completely changed, but I didn't think much of it. But I was doing, in preparation for birth, I was doing my, how do you call them? When you go upside down on the sofa,
You're spinning babies.
Spinning babies. Yes, I was doing my movements and all of that. And I didn't want to bring any fear into this. So I was like, whatever is happening, it is fine. In the morning, my belly is as usual. In the evening, it looks different. Well, I'm tired. This baby's moving around. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to think much of it. There were still heaps of movement. Everything was as usual. So I didn't worry much. The day of the birth, here we are, the 11th of the 11th. In the morning, around 10 a.m., I lose my mucus plug. So I tell my partner, okay, so this has happened. Doesn't mean anything. Birth can start in a day or two. I'm just letting you know this has happened. So we were planning to go to the markets and do lots of different things. And I said, let's stay home and don't waste our energy, basically, because we never know. Things can happen today. And so I spent time with my daughter that morning thinking, oh, maybe this is the last day of her being a single child. So I should really give her my whole attention. So we did that, painting, playing outside. It was very stormy that day. And I remember telling my partner, oh, it would be a beautiful day to birth. I love storms and I love heavy rain. But there was so much. We were still renovating some part of the house and other things we had on the to-do list. He was like, I'm not quite ready yet. Stop saying this. I'm doing this permaculture design. Let me finish, And I was like, yeah, that's fine. You've got a few hours. And I was just teasing him. But contractions, I've always had Braxton Hicks during the 2 pregnancies. So look, having contractions every now and then was part of my normality. But that day, they were a little bit more frequent. And that afternoon, they started to be a bit more regular. So I thought, oh, maybe it's happening, but I'm still okay. And I wanted to continue living a normal life as long as I could, because I didn't want to get into a birth space mentally if things were not happening for days. Then you exhaust yourself for nothing emotionally, and so I didn't want that. So I just continued my journey as normal. But in the afternoon, it was quite persistent. So I did wonder whether I should let my daughter go for a sleepover at my mom's, who was living overseas a few days after. And I thought, oh, maybe this baby is going to be born. She should stay here with us. But then I thought, oh, at least I can have a few hours on my own before. So let her go. So she went, and from the moment she left, my contractions were more serious. I had to stop what I was doing to breathe through them. And so I told my partner, all right, it's getting serious now. Maybe tonight it will happen. Let's finish what we're doing and see. And here it's like 4 p.m. At that time. And I'm telling him, you know what, in the evening, I'm pretty sure I will want to walk outside as I'm in labor. But it was so windy. We had a lot of dried leaves and the grass was tall. And I said, would you mind mowing the lawn for me so I can really be out there, ground myself? And he's like, yeah, okay, all right, I'll do that. So here he went and did that. And I'm really thinking it's happening. Like, it's not happening tonight. I think it's happening now. Okay, let's go on the sofa and text my midwife and my friend. I had a friend coming to be with my daughter as a support person for the birth. So I messaged the two of them. And as I do, I realized, okay, they're going to ask me how regular are the contractions, how far apart, how long do they last? And so I start watching the clock. And I realized that they are 10 minutes apart maximum. Sometimes I had one in between. And I'm thinking, holy crap, it's happening now. I'm still in denial at that moment. And my partner is just finishing mowing the lawn. And I tell him, I think we need to set up the birth space. I've realized they're 10 minutes apart. And and he's exhausted from doing all this. He's like, yeah, okay, I think you're right. Let's do it. So we bring the pool in and message everybody who needs to be informed. And as I'm putting the mattress on the floor, so we're setting up the birth space in the living room. There's a pool, there's a double mattress on the floor. I had already installed my birth affirmations, fairy lights, all this was already set up. And so it is quite intense then. Like, I really have not only to stop and breathe, but do go on all four and move my hips. Like, I'm in denial, but I'm starting to be in active labor. This is what's happening. And it's probably around 5 p.m. now. And so I tell my partner, all right, as soon as I'm done with the mattress, I'm going to have to hop in the shower. I feel like I need the hot water on me. And you take care of the pool. And now I hand my phone over to you, and you take care of the logistics of the daughter, the friend, the midwife, everybody. You will coordinate this for me while filling up the pool and all of that. And I'll go in the shower in my bubble. So I go in the shower, my dog's with me. And during that time, I remember having some contractions that are so intense. My whole body is shaking, and I feel like my baby already is starting to descend. But I'm thinking, this is so early. It can't be happening that early. And because I haven't felt the descent with my first one, I'm thinking, it must be my imagination. It can't be that. I'm still in denial here, and I'm almost birthing my baby. And I'm in the shower. I use the chair. I'm drinking. My dog is still by my side, and my partner comes back and forth between the pool and me, giving me water, telling me, all right, everybody's informed. They will all be here around 7. What do you need from me? It's all good. So he's great. He's doing everything he needs to be. He's got the homeopathy ready, and like, he's ready. And then I realized that the hot water is running out. So I tell him, I need to go to the pool. You need to help me get there. My legs are shaking. And now I'm really in the zone. Like, I'm really practicing the proper birth for it, welcoming each surge at the time. And I'm in that space where you are still physically here, but it's like the external world, you can touch it, but you can't touch it anymore. Everything feels you're in another dimension, as you know. It's quite something. So I said, I need help. I can't walk to the pool. physically, I can only feel those shakes. We transitioned to the living room, and he has to continue filling up the pool because it's not finished. So he's using pots at that stage to warm the water for me. And everything is going okay. Each contraction is intense, but in between, it's fine. I'm using pressure point. He's pressing on my hips, movement. The hot water is water relief. It's good. And so there's still the two of us for that moment. He's trying to take a couple of pictures, like everything is fine. Doesn't tell me, but he's internally he's freaking out because there's only the two of us, and he can see things are happening fast.
Had you asked your team to come yet, or had you just let them
they
know?
were on their way. Everybody, we knew that by 7:00 they would be here, but at this stage he's wondering whether this baby might be born before. And we've had the discussion before. The two of us decided, all right, if this baby was being born before the midwife arrives, what do we need to know? What do we need to know? Yeah, what do we need to do? This is what I need from you. How do you feel about this? Because my midwife is actually renowned to arrive late at births as well.
Is she?
So I knew it was a possibility, and I said, look, if that was happening, how confident are you to be with me for the birth of our daughter here, just the two of us? So we already prepared for that scenario as well. But at that moment, when we knew everybody was going to be there at 7, it was a relief, I must admit. And my friend is a home birther. She's also a free birther. So she was the perfect person to be with us. She has a relationship with my daughter. So I knew she wouldn't bring any fears or anything in the space, and she would have the right words to speak to my daughter. Sure, she needs emotional or psychological support, because she did watch, we prepared her as well. She did watch a number of birth videos with me. I answered all of her questions. She did see, the breathing and the blood and the movement, and she understood what was going on. But until you see your own mother or your own child going through pain, you don't know how you will react. So it was good having my friend for her. Everybody arrived around 7. When the midwife arrived, 7:15, I think it was, she did exactly what she told me she would be doing. She lays out her gear, checks me, and at that stage, she says, look, Emilie, I would really love you to step outside of the pool because I can't properly hear the heartbeats. I go onto the mattress, and that's when we have the discussion where she says, I'm not really happy with what I hear. Her heartbeats are very low during the contractions. However, after, it should go back up faster than what it does. So this tells me that she's in distress. But it's not only this. I can see there's meconium in the pool, and I can see it's fresh meconium. So it's something she's just passed now. And there's a reason why this is happening. And so these two events together are signs for me to understand there's something in the process here that is putting stress on your body, on your baby. And so I would normally recommend in that situation that we transfer to the hospital. So I sit with this and look, there's a whole movie happening in my head all of a sudden because I'm hearing the things from my first birth, the heartbeats being low and staying low, and okay, so this is happening, talking about hospital transfer, not happy with the way things are progressing. So here I'm thinking, okay, let's go to the hospital, but you know what? I'm not going to fight for anything. I'm just going to say, let's go straight to theater. Let's get this done. It's fine. And then I'm thinking, so it's funny because the rate of your thoughts, I'm trying to describe this now and it takes time, but this is happening in a second or two. Like, it's in reality, it's very fast. And during birth, you are extremely alert. All of your senses are heightened. And so you do think super fast because it's a matter of survival. It's your instincts have kicked in on a level that they normally won't. So you access extra strength, extra knowledge. Everything is happening on another level. And I'm taking a moment to breathe and really connect here and sit with this. Okay, so this is what's happening. Those are the signs. I know what it means, but how do I feel? What happens with this baby? And so I take a moment to really sit with it and really question what I'm getting. Is it my ego playing out? Is it my intuition? Who's talking to me? Is it my higher self? Is my fear playing any part in this? And so I'm telling her, I understand your concern. I can see those signs, and I do understand, like you do, what they mean. I do. However, I know this baby is fine, and we should stay here. Trust me, midwife, the first time around, I knew when it was time to call for an emergency C-section. And this time I know this is not hospital transfer is not needed right now. No, I know for sure it's not. She says, okay, I respect you. I respect your knowing, and I will not question it. But I had to suggest this. Now, there's another possibility, Emilie. If your baby is too far engaged, we can't even transfer. It's too late. Would you like me to check if she's too far engaged, or if she's even engaged? I said, yeah, let's see. And look, she hardly has time to check me. And she said, oh my God, she's here. Her head is here. She's just here. She's coming out right now. So I'm like, okay, great. So you see, no need to go to the hospital. And I said, but I need to go back in the pool. The water really helps me, and I can't stay on the mattress. It's too uncomfortable. She said, yeah, no worries. Let's move back into the pool. And from that moment, I know that every surge, every contraction is bringing this baby. It makes a huge difference because I know she's about to be born. So it's different. Before, when I was in the shower, I was in denial. She was already going, on her way. But at the time, I'm not working towards a result yet. I'm just working through a contraction, and that's it. That's just my goal. It's one contraction at the time. Whereas now I know that we are very close to the end goal. And so each contraction is to bring her closer. And as we get closer to but she did ask, she said, okay, there's one thing I'd like to ask. Would you allow me to ring the ambulance so they can be here on standby? And if for any reason we need to transfer after the birth, we can, and we don't have to wait. They will surely be here by then. I'm like, yep, no worries. Let's do this. So they ring the ambulance, no problems. I'm back in the pool. Each contraction is welcome. My daughter, who was reading with my friend in her room, is now in the living room with us. They are both in the living room with us. We know it's the end of it. And look, the midwife arrived at 7:15, and baby is born at 8:20. So it's a short hour. It's the last hour. So the contraction, and now it's different. The intensity is still there. However, they are not as close together. So I've got more time to recoup in between each contraction. And I'm really talking to my baby, asking her to take it slow. I remember it was like a mantra I was repeating: gentle for you, gentle for me. Let's be gentle here, gentle for you, gentle for me. And as she was starting to come out, her body would come out and back in, out and back in, and each time further out, but she wasn't staying fully out. She was going back in. So I had time to really stretch my perineum and adjust my movements. And so the actual birth itself was on a much slower and gentle pace.
Is that why you were saying that mantra, so that you would allow the stretching? Is that yeah?
Yeah. And I was just inviting her to go slow because everything happened so fast until then. And now I'm telling her, let's be slow here, gentle, take our time. It's now the last, it's the last, we are at the finish line, so there's no point to rush. We've done the hardest part. It's okay. Let's take it easy here. And as I'm stretching my skin and I touch her, I feel her so squishy.
Yeah.
And I'm asking my midwife, can you please check with your mirror if it's her head? Because she is so squishy. It's maybe I'm touching the cord or something. And it's dark in the room, so I can't, anyway, I can't really see myself. And the water is darker with the meconium and a bit of blood. So she does check and she's like, no, that's fine. The head is really squeezed and that's normal. I'm like, okay, let's keep going. And we talk in between contractions. It's fine. And then at some point, I know it's not the head because I can feel something else from the body. I can't remember what. And I look at her, and she knew already because she went down with her mirror a few times, but she didn't say anything because she didn't want to freak me out, basically. And I look at her, and I know that she knows that I know then. And just our eyes, she looks at me. Yep, it's okay, Emilie. You can. She's breech, but you can do it. It's all good. And I say, okay, let's continue anyway. What can we do about this? Let's just continue. And so she tells me that at the end, depending whether if she continues to come out by herself, no worries. But if the head is a bit stuck, she might need me to stand up and use gravity, maybe even push, because the head will have nothing to press against. So we'll see. She, in between contractions, she explains that there might be some maneuver needed. So I'm not surprised because we've never discussed breech. This baby wasn't. She was head down all throughout the pregnancy, so we've never had to discuss this.
That's what I wondered, if you had discussed breech, because
not at all.
The fact that she was worried about telling you, I thought, had you guys had a conversation? Because if it is the person I know, she's renowned for now supporting women for breech. But this could have kicked off after this experience. I'm not sure. So
no, she's a strong advocate for breech birth. Way before her and her other midwife colleague are both trained and do deliver breech births in Southeast Queensland. And they are both very gentle and positive women. So it's, I knew they were trained in this, but we never discussed the technicalities of it because my girl was head down until a couple of days. This is why the shape of my belly changed. She flipped and she was so tiny, she had enough room for it. And so on the day of the birth, we didn't know that she was going to be breech. And so that's it. We just find out during the process of birth. But I don't worry because, well, first, it's too late to worry anyway. You can birth this baby. But also, I knew I was in good hands. If there was anything needed, my main and secondary midwives were both trained and were very skilled and knowledgeable around breech deliveries. So I knew we were fine. She just, in between contractions, she just gave me the heads up of this, I might need you to do this position or stand up in that way, or it might be needed, but maybe not. But I'd rather tell you now, and so you don't worry or anything. It's normal for a breech delivery to be doing that. So here we are, body is born in the pool, and she's like, yep, it's taking a bit of time. Emilie, let's stand up. Let's birth the rest of your baby standing up. I'm quite short, so it's hard for me to be in the pool. She's like, come outside of the pool. And as I climb over the wall of the pool and I step outside, here's the ambulance crew arriving. And so they arrive and for some reason, they think they are needed. We actually needed them to be on standby outside in case we need to transfer. But somewhere in the communication, I'm not sure, they came in and they're like, okay, so basically what do we need to do? They come in, they have all their gear, they try to take over the space. One is asking his colleague, please turn on the light. I'm like, no touching the light. And they start asking me questions like, what part of the body came out first? And I'm like, who cares? We are delivering a baby here, and she's in charge, like pointing at the midwife, not you, you know. So, basically, shush, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
But I understand that they work in emergency. It's their role. And so if we don't tell them it's not an emergency, we need you on standby, they just are going to do what they are supposed to do. So it's totally normal. But having said that, I said, you direct your questions to the midwife, because I need to stay in my bubble with my breathing and all of it. I can't be talking to strangers right now, especially about things, weird questions. Anyway, so we are now outside, and the two midwives are next to me with my partner. I hold on to him. They are just setting up all the gear, the ambulance crew. I can't see how many people. I'm in the zone, so I don't see what's happening outside. It's hard. I don't have strength, so I'm holding on to my partner to stay standing up. And the midwife say, look, Emilie, you haven't pushed so far, but you need to push now. And I'm thinking, I don't want to push. I'm thinking, my poor pelvic floor, I don't want to push this baby out. I will breathe this baby out. And they're like, no, for the head now, she's not coming out. I will just press her shin against to have a better alignment for her to come out. But I need you to physically push and help the process.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so first push. Is she still not out yet? And I'm like, I'm not doing this. I can't. I don't want to be pushing this baby out. They're like, you just need one more push. Emilie, please, one more. And everybody is kind of like telling me, you okay? Because I'm like, no, I can't. And the two of them, my partner, are like, yes, you can. You have to push now.
Yeah.
And so I push, and here she comes out. Placenta comes out straight away as well.
Wow.
And so I'm standing up facing the pool. The midwives are behind me. So, okay, they grab her, pass on the front back to me. But she's not crying, or there's nothing happening yet. The color is not bad. She's not pale, but she's not ideal in color. So, embos, they look at her. So right now in the room, everybody is a bit concerned. I'm the only one who's not. Because I sense her. I know she's here. She hasn't screamed yet. She hasn't, like my first, but I know she's here. And from hearing to so many birth stories, I know sometimes babies who are born quite fast take time to physically arrive in their body, and it takes time for them to scream as well. Like we think it's necessary or something, not necessarily. So I'm really not worried. Everything was so fast. And so they say, oh, keep rubbing her back and blow some air on her face. And within a few seconds, she starts coughing and then making some sounds. So here she is, properly physically here with us. Everybody's relieved. It's finished. The placenta's already out.
Yeah.
But at the time, what I didn't see was that the cord was completely white already. So she was not receiving oxygens anymore towards the end when she was inside of me. Hence, probably she was in apnea when she came out. And so I then knew why the midwife was concerned, or even the embos, because the cord, as long as the baby's attached, I know they're getting enough oxygen. But once I saw, because my daughter was straight away talking about the cord and the placenta, and here I'm discussing how she's getting oxygen, and I'm like, well, she's not actually.
Yeah.
She's already white, so white and not skinny, but it's been everything got out of it. So I'm like, wow. So then I couldn't see that as I was birthing her, but obviously all these signs, you understand the meaning of them, and so I understand why my midwife was worried then, but luckily she showed signs soon enough for everybody to relax.
Good. That's good.
And then, so then basically she's here.
Yeah.
We're sitting next to the pool. She's with me, my partner next to me, with my daughter. We're in together, and so the embos are asking questions to the midwives, and they keep asking their questions. Always ask whether this was planned. Like it sounds like they want to check whether it was accidental home birth or planned home birth for some reason. But the midwives are here, so it's like, well, everything was planned and organized like this. But surprise, breech, this wasn't planned. And so then they just check me and the baby, blood pressure, something. They check a couple of things, and then they say, all right, would you like us to transfer you to hospital? Do you feel like you want to? And I thank them and I say no. And they said, all right, well, we'll be packing and leaving. But if tonight, for whatever reason, you'd like us to come back, you ring us and we'll be back. And as we talk, I take the time to really thank them, because they did respect what we asked when they came in. And, they wanted to turn the lights on and everything. And I said, no, everything that happened in those few words, they did respect. They didn't force things onto us, and they let us and the midwives do the maneuvers that were needed at the end, and they respected. They just turned the lights on for the checks, and then we turned them back on, and they were lovely. Everything was fine. And so when I looked at each of them one after the other to say thank you meaningfully, thank you, I realized there's 4 of them. So many people in my living room right now, because there's 4 of them, plus the 2 midwives, my partner and my daughter, my friend, my dog, plus all the equipment. It's crowded. It's crowded. It's quite crowded. But the high from the birth, I'm so happy, so high right now. Everything's fantastic. She's here, and she's making movements. She's looking for my breast. So then we move on to the mattress, and then so embos leave. My friend is bringing us food and tea and a few things like this. There's just the 4 of us right now on the mattress, and midwives start to do their cleanup process and having some food with my friend. Like they leave us in that bubble for a while. My baby is having her first feeds. She is attached to her placenta. We've planned a cord burning ceremony, so we did that later. But so they're doing their things, the logistic side of things, and we are staying on the mattress, talking, the 4 of us, looking at her and discussing what went on and a few things like this. And then the midwife says, would you like me to give you everything for your cord burning? Should I help you with this? And we say, yes, please. So the candles and the bowl, everything is here nearby. So she just assists us with this. And as we do it, we really take the time to meaningfully welcome this little girl in our family. And also we take a moment to also tell our first daughter that she's now a big sister. And I had a cord for her, how do you call it? The cord to attach.
Umbilical cord? The umbilical cord, like to put on the umbilical cord?
Exactly.
We call them cord ties.
That's right.
Yeah.
I ordered a cord tie with a matching bracelet for her sister. So we do this, and it's beautiful. It takes a bit of time. But it's just the 4 of us. It's beautiful right now. Everything's perfect. They do other things in the background, but we don't really pay attention. And after this, my daughter is exhausted. She just goes onto the sofa with my dog and falls asleep there. And so that's it. The midwives pack up everything, organize the washing. We debrief a little bit. Oh, surprise birth, surprise breech, blah blah blah. We have a good laugh about it. Secondary midwife leaves, and the main midwife stays a bit longer with us. We go have a shower, the 2 of us. I have a shower. She comes with me to help me walk and to check on me. And I'm relieved because then I don't know whether there's any tearing or anything down there. And she's like, "Oh, perfect, Emilie, nothing. There's
Wow.
nothing at all. It's great." And I'm like, "Really? There's nothing? Oh, I'm so glad." Because I'm thinking, well, it's my first vaginal birth, and here's a breech
Mm.
baby that just came out. It's
Mm.
how wonderful, you know. And then we're back on the mattress, and she offers if we want to do check her weight and size before she leaves. So we do that. And then she leaves. We remember to text the neighbors because they probably saw the ambulance and they must be worried sick right now. I'm thinking, what happened? So we message them. It's midnight. We say, "Hey, all is good. Baby's here. We're both doing well. We're just going to bed now. I hope you were not too worried to see the ambulance." And they responded straight away. They've been waiting.
Yeah.
They've been
Peeking
waiting
out
to
the
hear from
windows.
us. Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, thank you for letting us know. See you soon. Take care." And that's it. We go to bed that night with a new baby with us. It's so simple yet so magical. It's birthing at home is quite something because you are in your most comfortable space, and it feels it's that weird reality of living a truly magical moment in such a simple, mundane way. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's I can't sleep that night. I'm so excited. I'm
I
so
was
high
thinking,
from the
I was
bed.
thinking, did you go to sleep or were you so excited afterwards? Yeah.
No, I kept looking at her, thinking about everything, looking at the pictures and the videos, and yeah, I was just too high. I couldn't sleep straight away. My partner is exhausted. He's done after everything I made him do during that day. And he moaned alone for me to labor outside, but I didn't have the time to step one foot outside
Yeah.
ever.
But the
Yeah,
next day you could, which is good.
yes, but we laughed about it, and well, he knew it was pointless, but he knew also that there was no point contradicting me at that
Yeah.
stage. So it
Just
just,
do what he has to
yep,
do.
yep.
Good man.
So yeah, and once again, he was a perfect birth partner. We were prepared each other. He knew exactly what was needed from him every step of the way. So it was second birth with him and amazing. And then you have another level of love and respect and gratitude for your partner because it's a life-changing experience. But when you live that together, it's quite something.
Yes, I'm tearing up. Through this whole last part, I've just been tearing up, but I can relate. My husband and I bonded so much through our free birth pregnancy and then through the birth, and it's just an experience that many of us don't get to experience in the hospital
Yes.
setting. It's almost exclusive to a home
Mm.
birth setting, and it's one of the benefits that it's just amazing
Mm.
because parenthood is challenging, pregnancy can be challenging, traumatic births can be challenging and put so much pressure on relationships. And so to have that at the end, there's so many beautiful things that so many are missing out on, but you got to experience, which is
Yeah.
why I'm so grateful to hear this story today.
Yeah.
And I'm filled with love and so much gratitude and joy for you that you had this experience.
Mm.
It's one in a lifetime experience.
Absolutely. I wish this to every woman.
Yes.
Not the surprise breech, but the ability to birth in their own terms,
Yeah.
whatever that means for them, but the ability to make the decisions that are right for them and to be in peace with their births. And people should be allowed to birth or die at home if they want to. There's no better place, for it. Coming into this world or living this world surrounded by the people that we love is truly magical. And there's a lot of medication now or medical interventions happening that are not always necessary. It is what it is, but I just want people to know that there's another way, there's a more simple way, and we can reconnect to our body wisdom and like if you can birth a breech baby after a cesarean at home, I mean, anything is possible, really.
Of course, yeah, it is.
We are made for this. And I mean, baby was fine, I was fine, and I'm a small woman, and there was no injury, there was no birth injury. But when you have the knowledge and you surround yourself with the people who have the expertise needed, having the right birth team is key. My partner also educated himself, first pregnancy, second as well, but he knew exactly what to do because he prepared himself for it. He was active throughout the whole, he wasn't passive. He questioned things with me, he challenged himself and and that's the key for partners as well, to be active in the process. It's not only about the mother, it's a team.
It is.
It's a real team.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your story today. And is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience? Any top tip or something you would like women planning a VBAC home birth to know?
When I first met this home birth midwife, I was really honest. I knew what I wanted and what I didn't want, and I was honest with her since the beginning. And so having this honest, transparent discussion from day one will prevent surprises later down the track when it's too late to make changes. And so surrounding yourself with the right people is key, and making sure that they will respect your choices and challenging them, questioning them. What's your experience in this? How many have you birthed in that whatever scenario it is that you have? What do you think about this? But what's your actual experience? What did you do when that happened? And really taking the time, the first meeting, to ask all of the questions, and to really feel and connect with this person and sense whether it's the right birth partner for you to have. But being really honest, is key. The person will be honest as well, because they will not be promising something they don't want to be doing. They will be honest as well about their level of comfort in each step of the way, basically. Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your story, Emilie.
Thank you very much, Ashley, for having me. I hope it helps other women and other people out there. Your podcast and other podcasts have really helped me. So all the best to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the VBAC Home Birth Stories podcast. I hope today's story inspired you to trust your body, own your choices, and embrace the power of birth. If you loved this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mama who needs to hear this. Do you have a VBAC home birth story to share? I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on ashleywinning.com or on Insta at ashleylwinning. Until next time, take care and trust your body.